Welcome back, gang. It's Delty from Deltia's Gaming. I said we'd be doing dungeon diving with the Umbra Magic Nightblade build, and here we are. So we're doing White Gold Tower. Doesn't take us very long. Pretty experienced group with Gilly, Macmillian, myself, and Lala. So we got awesome healer, couple DPS, and the tank we just picked up and zoned does a pretty good job. So Umbra Nightblade, it's actually pretty simple in comparison. The basic thing you want to do before you start any pull is get your buffs up and refresh the timers. You can see I recast it. Fully charge heavy attack, twisting, then blockades. You want to put those both down where you're going to be posting up. I also put a cripple down just so I can keep my scathing mage proc up more. So even in big, huge ad waves like that, that can keep up your scathing mage, so your spell damage, increase it. So it can be a DPS increase sometimes for you. It can be helpful. Also, another thing, don't use an ultimate on this guy typically, because you want to burn the little stupid dude in here before it goes in its little cages. So if you and your DPS don't use that and everyone has war horns and stuff, then usually you can rip it down. This guy isn't too hard. So I just nuke him down. And I'm using the simpler setup, and you can see it's just easier for me with twisting and blockade on the back. So what I tried to do is hit twisting, a buff like Merciless Resolve, Assassin's Will, then elemental blockade, so I'm getting that at the exact same time. So I'm gonna check if they got Warhorn, because Warhorn's really gonna boost our damage and allow us to kind of just nuke this guy down as fast as possible. So single target, you can swap to Meteor. You can also put a Trap Beast down too instead of Harness. That will really get your damage up, but I'm just gonna keep it like it is for this. So buff up, Spell Power Potion, and you can use your Spell Power Potion after you put your Destro down to get some more ultimate down, but we're just going to go for it. And boom, heavy attack, blockade, twisting, bar swap, cripple, and right there would be an opportunity to go ahead and put a trap down. And I ate some poopy poop, but didn't die. Thankfully, we got the healer doing a good job. So blockade, fire that, twisting path, cripple. And it's a very simple rotation, really. So if I would have used my potion right there, I could have had a Assassin's Will. I could have had a Soul Harvest way earlier. See, I used it there. So you want to use your ultimate, potion, and then you can get a Soul Harvest for a real quick boss burn. So I don't know what I did there, about 40,000 DPS, so it does pretty good. So let's keep on moving to the next phase. Now, same sort of thing applies here. Typically, once you start learning these dungeons, save ultimates for the boss, and when you're clearing trash, you'll kind of know after doing these dungeons a trillion times which boss you should save one for, automatically, which bosses it's not that big of a deal. So when you're clearing trash, you can use these ultimates and when you're really familiar with it, but typically, try to save it. And usually there's a boss, bunch of trash pulls, and so on. And if you want to clear this really fast, put a blockade in one place, put a twisting path another, and then heavy attack the other portal. And of course, guess what? Well, it goes to the tank, so we have to kill all these bad guys. But typically you can do that, and if everyone in your group does that, you can almost get it where there's like literally no portals. So it makes it go a lot faster, especially if you're farming gear here. Another thing to know about gear in this place is that, well, you can buy the keys from vendors now, so you don't even need to do these if you have gold and you want to use the keys to like get spell power cure gear or the Imperium set or whatever you're going for. So it's much easier to get gear, and these dungeons are a lot easier now too. So as you can see, I'm just light attack weaving in my impales, trying to get these guys nuked and juked. Look how fast that little Magic Nightblade. Magic Nightblade is awesome, man. I love this class. I really do. It's one I probably played when I was doing some competitive PvE that I played. It just seemed like it was easiest for me to get the rotation down and to produce good DPS. I'm not the best DPS in the world, but it just seemed really easy. It got 2 buffs, 2 ground-based AoE, spammable, and a dot on my front bar, and it produces great results. It has great survivability. Sap Essence is a great skill for group utility, too. So I just love the class all around. It's great AoE, single target, and I don't know what the highest DPS in the world is. I don't know what class it is, but pick a class and get good at it. That's the most important thing. Magic Nightblade, Magic Sork, they're both really fun range casters. Speaking of range casters, you see how I'm in Garothar range? So if you're going to use that Garothar set, remember that you need to take advantage of it by being that 8 meter range where it actually hits them. Otherwise, you're just wasting your 2-piece. And now we got Talkie Talk time. So during Talkie Talk time, Deltia lecture time, best thing to do here on this fight is really swap out Sap Essence and put in Trap Beast. So you want to put Trap right where the boss spawns and then hold down a heavy attack. or Scalding Rune, another good skill as well. So you should swap that in. I'm lazy and just like, whatever, dude. I did my workout today. It was leg day. I'm sore, so I didn't do it. But put that trap down so it starts ticking right away. Boom. Drop that Destro down, and Sap Essence is meh. You can do it like this to get some of the other bosses down, but really you should be primarily focusing on the same guy, nuking them down. So typically we go with the sword and board guy, kill him, dual wield guy, then the healer dude. That's typically what we usually do. So I was kind of on the wrong target for a while, and I'm going to impale him down. And you can see, as long as you react fast on those chains and pulls in, you don't really need Harness. And also if your healer's paying attention. But Harness is definitely helpful for those newer players that, are struggling with this. So consider Sap Essence your slot that you would change out in that situation. 2 ground-based AoEs, put my buffs back down, cripple, so we're going to refresh those buffs, and we're going to go in for a Soul Harvest and then just bang on it with Impale. I'm telling you, that Soul Harvest, getting them down right in the execute phase will really spike that DPS into a good amount. So try doing that, using your ultimate. And if you're not going to build back a second high-cost ultimate, go ahead and use that Soul Harvest and use it right away, especially after you use a potion, maybe a kill or two, bang, you should have one back up. And now it's just a bunch of trash pulls, really. So same sort of thing here. If you get the little dark vision, you have to kill the portals. So I get it right away. So I'm still going to put my ground-based AoEs down. And some people should know what to do by now, but some people don't. So, if you're pugging this, don't be frustrated with them. They just need to understand it. And it's not like these things last forever. So, the best thing to do is just put your ground-based AoEs on where they're going to spawn. You can see that one's back in the corner. Then also, typically I save an ultimate for the second pull, and as I get stunned there. And that's like coming up here. And so there's 2 little crazy dudes. I don't even know what you call them. Monarch dudes, whatever. Little basic Lord Warden looking dudes. That's when I drop my ultimate on these 2 little tater tots here. Come on, drop it, Delt. Drop it, D! Yeah, Sap Essence. There we go. Get that AoE. You wonder why everyone's playing Magic now. It's Krog! Look at that. Look at that. It's just, you wonder why people are playing Magic Nightblades now, man. They're fun, they're quick, they're fast, they're furious, and they do good damage, And it's not that complex. It really isn't. And, I'm training people and telling people, basically you stick to the basics with maybe 1-2 dots, 1-2 buffs, and you're spammable. And you set your bars and stuff like that so it's easy. And then once it becomes easy at that level, then you throw in a Trap Beast or another dot or another buff or something like that. And that way you can optimize it. Because if you're running 5-6 buffs and all these dots and you're not using them correctly, you're almost better off using 1 or 2 where it's really easy for you and then switching. Otherwise you're just not going to make the build effective. So especially on consoles where you don't have all these crazy buff timers, it's really easy with the Magic Nightblade. You see right there, so you look at the ground, there's a big red glow, the ground's on fire. That's when you have your 2 things. And a tip is, I'm watching myself do this, you want to cast your Twisting Path first, then your Blockade. Because remember, Twisting's 11.5, Blockade is 8, right? So when you go to recast it, you want it to get its full duration, its full value. So that's why you're going to do that. So when you come back to recast, well, you're going to cast your Blockade first, and then your Twisting should be out. So that's kind of how you want to play that. Otherwise, you're going to waste time recasting something before its full duration comes out. I just shot Assassin's Will just because, lol, you don't have to fight this guy. You can skip him, but I just clicked my button because, yeah, you got an Assassin's Will. You want to shoot that little sucker, don't you? Look at that. Ah, yeah, I hit so hard. And that's a good single target practice, kind of, when you're not using ultimates to see where you're at. About 30,000 is a good mark, You should be above that if you have like Spell Power Cure and all your buffs are up and, the guy's using the right taunt and all this sort of stuff. And Power of Light's on too, so that's even less spell resistance. So, it's a good benchmark for just a real quick damage where you should be at 30,000, 40,000, depending on, you hit an ult and stuff like that, well, you're going to nuke them. Okay, same sort of thing here. You put a Blockade down, put a Twisting, then fully charge heavy attack right here, and you can get the portals down right away. And of course it goes to the tank again. Yay, RNG. Love RNG-based mechanics, huh? It's fun, isn't it? So we're just going to drop the hammer on these kids because they take forever to kill. So once you get this is where I don't do any ultimates, right? So we're going to basically have 2 more little mini boss type things, the Crematorial Guard, and then Dragon Dude. That's his official name. And then we're good. So if you're going for a no death here, as I slot in Harness, I don't even have more Deltia the Bug. Gonna slot that in, get some ultimate real quick, because you want to start the Planar Inhibitor with an ultimate. Some people struggle with this fight, and I'm going to show you what I do, because I get the little green gobbledygook and show you what I do. But no death here. This guy, whoever attacks him first, is going to get a little shoot. It's going to shoot something at you. Dodge. Because if you don't, you will get one shot. And I've screwed up many no death runs. Yeah, I know. Doing that, being that guy that eats it. So just don't eat it. I've been that guy. We all been that guy, right? Oh, some of us haven't. They're perfect. Don't ask them. And we're going to impale him. So you can burn this dude. You know, obviously coordinated teams are going to do this a lot faster with Warhorns, Ebony, and Alkosh, but we got what we got. So simplest thing to do here is just stack and whack. Put them on here, and if you got the DPS, you can burn this guy down before it gets to the blue phase or just a little bit after. So as long as you have Harness Magic on and everyone has a way to defend themselves or heal, that's the way to do it. So we're going to go here. We're going to put our buffs down, drop the house, cripple. Don't move out of my Destro. Make sure Garothar's hitting him, because look, a little Deltia. If Garothar isn't hitting him, you're just wasting damage. Okay, now I get the gray stuff, right? You got portals. Settle down, kill the portals with range, and kill the boss. So there's plenty of time to do these portals. It takes them about 5 seconds for them to actually shoot out and actually start spawning ads. So, you know, you have plenty of time like I'm doing here. If I'm putting my ground-based AoEs down, they're almost dying to my Garothar and ground-based AoEs. So time on target. If you can still just pump out the damage in 1 Force Pulse here and there. As you can see, I did my Assassin's Will. He's in execute range now. So it's just a much easier way to do it than like basically walking around looking for something to do. I see a lot of players do that. Or they just don't even do it. You know, it's real simple just to throw 1 or 2 Force Pulses. That's the biggest pain in this entire fight, is that. Oh, now that we got that done, easy peasy. Then we got a bunch of ad pulls here. So usually I swat siphoning, whatever the skill is. Sap Essence, why I call it siphoning. Usually I slot that and then just, you know, hit it. But if you have enough AoE with your ground-based AoEs and your other DPS, I mean, you can pretty much just not even use Sap and get away with it, because your ground-based AoEs and single-target spammable will just nuke down almost everything. So we got a Cream Guard here. Good opportunity to practice your buff rotation and making sure you're using Impale right around that 25% health threshold. So another thing I constantly notice with people when I'm training people is they don't use their executes properly. When I say execute, that means that your attack, like Impale, becomes way stronger than Force Pulse once the boss reaches 25% health. So you're constantly looking at the boss's health to say, okay, what is it? If it's at that 25% mark, and sometimes there's visual indicators, not so much on consoles, but that's when you switch from using Force Pulse to Impale, because it's going to hit harder. You're talking about 30k crits versus like 15. So, you know, you're rewarded for paying attention to that. So constantly. Now, not everyone has an execute like Magic GKs, so they kind of just stick to their same rotation, but, you know, Templars, Nightblades, Sorks, they have something like that. Now, Sorks is at 20%, but still. So the main thing to do is if you're going up against a boss and it's executable, make sure that your buffs are reapplied before you go into it. So like I did right there, and then go into it. You know, for these little dungeons, you don't have to just sit there and maintain 4 dots during execute. But if you're doing like a trial and the fight lasts 10 minutes, you're going to still have to maintain blockade, twisting, cripple. That way your scathing mage spell damage increases. And that's what we're wearing for this, since it is group oriented. All right, now to Molakina. Pretty easy fight. Harness Magic is your friend. Not standing to poopy. Poop is your friend. You know, and building the ultimate right away. There's going to be a couple thresholds of HP where the boss does the mechanics, where it goes outside and so forth. But it's just really simple. Stack and whack, and if you have good DPS, all these dungeons are really easy, to be honest with you. Remember that when I say good DPS, that doesn't mean it comes just from the 2 DPS. That means the healer's wearing Spell Power Cure. the tanks using their correct taunt, aggressive warhorn. That's where really good DPS comes from. It's a team thing. It's not just 2 players on the team. So if everyone can do their job, increasing your group's DPS or raid DPS, I mean, look how much easier these fights are. The dude's already about 66% health, so he's going to go into his little summoning thing, and it's just easy. So we don't have to deal with these mechanics. So when you're doing dungeons and you see this type of stuff, remember that everyone can affect this type of thing. Tanks, Alkosh gear. Yeah, it sucks to get. I had to get it, but it really makes a huge difference when you're popping them synergies and you're using that combined with your spell damage debuff or your armor debuff, and things are just getting nuked. Makes everything easier when you don't have to worry about mechanics. And that's the game's downside, right? Is that, you know, big, huge DPS people, they don't have to worry about mechanics because they just do so much damage. So, unfortunately, that's the game the way it is. You know, you got to play by what the game does, and that rewards high DPS. So we got them down pretty good here, and then I usually save an ultimate for this final phase. So ultimate and potion, what you can do, put your Destro ult down, pop a potion, and then you can use a soul harvest pretty fast. So that's a little trick. And then also buff during these last phases here, and then you put your ground-based AoEs down. So as soon as he comes out, you put your buffs up, you pop a potion if you have it, and then you just go to execute. Tab target the guy, or on console sit that, I think, R3 button, and then boom, one roly-poly dodge roll. Boom, too easy. Damage is everything in this game. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the Nightblade.